All right, let's dive into one of the biggest challenges, I think, in all of product design: getting the real story from your users. I mean, it's easy enough to run a test, right? But how can you be sure you're not just watching someone put on a performance? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how you can shift your usability testing from something totally artificial to something genuinely authentic. Let's do this. So let's just ask it straight up. Is your product actually user-friendly? This is the one question that should honestly keep every single product team up at night. It's so easy to convince yourself, that your product is super intuitive, but is it? Really? Or are you just kind of living in your own little design bubble? The only way you're ever going to know for sure is by testing it, and testing it the right way. And here it is, the biggest risk of all: artificial interactions. The single biggest mistake you can make is creating this sterile, lab-like environment. The second a user feels like they're under a microscope, everything changes. Their behavior just flips. They stop being a real user and they become a test subject. And trust me, that artificial feeling, it will absolutely poison your results, and it could send your whole project spiraling in the completely wrong direction. Okay, so how do we get out of that lab? How do we fix this? It all starts by tackling what we're calling the realism challenge. And look, the solution here isn't about getting a fancier camera or renting a different room. It's all about context. If you want to see real-world behavior, you've got to create a believable, real-world situation for your users to actually step into. And that, my friends, is where the test scenario becomes your secret weapon. Think of it this way. It's not just a boring list of instructions, no way. It's more like the opening scene of a play. You're giving the user a role, a motivation, a real reason to care about what they're doing. You're setting the stage, creating a meaningful situation that pulls them right out of that "I'm being tested" mindset and into a genuine, authentic experience. Let's make this super concrete, okay? Instead of giving a sterile command like, "click on your account history," you give them a scenario. Something like, imagine you just bought a coffee and you want to double-check that the transaction went through. You see the difference there? It's huge. One is a robotic command you have to follow. The other is a personal goal you want to achieve. That tiny, tiny shift in how you frame it, it changes absolutely everything about how the user thinks and acts. And that is the magic right there. That's the whole point. When you give users a context they can actually relate to, they stop being robots just pushing buttons. They start problem solving. They start behaving naturally, making decisions just like they would if they were sitting on their own couch. Scenarios are the key, the thing that unlocks their genuine reactions. And that is what gives you insights that are actually worth something. All right, so we've set the stage with a really compelling scenario. Awesome. But now, what's the plot? What's the action? Well, that's where tasks come in. These are the core missions, the specific things your user is going to do inside that scenario. They're the actions that actually drive the story forward. So a user task has to be a clear, specific action. And you have to get this part right, it is absolutely critical. It has to be tied directly to the main purpose of your prototype. You're not just testing random, shiny features over in the corner. You're testing the primary reason your product even exists, whether that's navigating a key flow or completing some core action. But that, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? It's easy for me to stand here and say, just write a task. But how do you write a good one? How do you craft an instruction that actually gives you powerful insights and doesn't just result in a confused look from your user? Well, the secret, really, is what I like to call the art of balance. See, crafting a truly great task isn't about being ridiculously simple or overly detailed. It's all about finding that perfect sweet spot, right there in the middle. And this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got explore the app. I mean, what does that even mean? The user has no idea what to do, they're just going to click around randomly, and you're going to learn absolutely nothing. But look at the right. Find and book a service for this weekend. Boom. It's specific, it's goal-oriented, and it directly tests a core function of your app. That is the balance you're shooting for. So let's break this down into 3 golden rules. Rule number 1, don't be too broad. That just confuses people. Rule 2, don't be too narrow either. If you say something like, click the blue button at the top right of the screen, you're not testing their intuition. You're just giving them directions. You're basically hand-holding them through it. And that brings us to the goal, rule 3, find that perfect balance. You want something where you can evaluate a specific detail, but also see how the user navigates the bigger journey all on their own. And you have to remember this. Every single task you write needs a purpose. It has to tie directly back to your test goals. So ask yourself, what are you trying to learn? If you're worried your navigation is confusing, then your task has to make the user move between different sections. If you're testing a brand new feature, well, the task has to lead them right to it. Every task needs a crystal clear why behind it. Okay, so you've done all this careful prep. You've crafted these perfect scenarios and tasks. What's the payoff? Why go through all this trouble? Well, it all boils down to one simple thing: the quality of the insights you get at the end. Here's the bottom line. The value of your test results, it's pretty much decided before the user even sits down. All that hard work you put in up front during preparation, that translates directly into the quality of your data. And great prep doesn't just mean better insights for you, it makes the whole test feel more professional and, honestly, just effortless for the person you're testing with. And when you really nail this, the benefits are just huge. I mean, you're going to unlock those authentic reactions we've been talking about this whole time. You'll generate insights that are actually accurate, not just a bunch of noise. You get to see how users really make decisions. And because the test is clear for them, they get less frustrated, and you walk away with clean, usable, actionable data. So, I want to leave you with this one final thought. You've probably obsessed over every single pixel, every line of code, every user flow in your prototype, right? But have you put even a fraction of that same design thinking into the test itself? Because a poorly designed test can completely invalidate a brilliantly designed product. Think about that. Your product doesn't just deserve a great test, it absolutely needs one.